Hey, what's up you guys? This is Junior Trader and in this video, let's take a look at AMD stock. This week we have AMD's earnings and that is on Tuesday. So in this video, I'll take you over not just the price action but also options data where the traders are betting their money. And also I want to provide you an overall sentiment of the Wall Street as well on AMD. So a lot to talk about in this video. So let's jump right into it. Once I also let you know, none of this is any financial advice and is only for education purposes. Just sharing my opinion. Please do your own thing, okay? So AMD has been on a decline. It's no matter how far I go, it's been on decline since the October, all right, almost 10th of October. It's been just in decline. Now it has come to a point where we are just around or just at 200 weeks moving average. So let's get to the weekly interval. And I'm going to talk about the price action first, and then I'll take you what analysts are, Wall Street is saying specifically, and then the options data. This is where we are still a little bit bouncing around. It's been what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 weeks, a month that is just dancing around at 200 weeks moving average. But a gap up or a gap down is definitely coming on AMD, and that will either save it or break it. Well, what is the saving scenario? Well, the saving scenario, I'll talk about that in just a second. I want to first go over how much gap up or gap down is possible in AMD. So the last earnings, AMD had a gap down of 8% almost, all right? Earnings prior to that, we did have a gap up, but a little bit off, so 7.70%. So it's just around 7 and 8%. Earnings prior, we had a gap down, so let's see how much we had it. And we had almost 6.5%, so it's very close, like 7% in the last 3 earnings it has done. Now, I want to talk about gap up and gap down possibility first, and then also the price action more in detail. So let's say AMD just stays sideways or just hover around 200 weeks moving average. What is the gap up possibility looks like? So 7% almost will put it up here at 124 if it gaps up 7%, $124. All right, so which is it's very apparent right over here, right? Okay, what if it gaps down 7%, right? So let me just double check again. Yes, 7% around 123, 124. And if it gaps down 7%, well, it's going to definitely break the 200 weeks moving average and it will come down to 107. So pretty much just broken and just gonna continue much more lower, right? And for the upside, 7% will be around 124. So the thing is that definitely I expect a gap. Again, nothing is guaranteed, but there is more likelihood that we'll have a gap up or gap down. No one knows what's going to happen. We may have more than 7% or less than 7%. It depends. Now, my opinion is that AMD has already quite sold off. So I won't be surprised if it gaps up, just on the reason that it's just too much sold off. And I'll get to those things in just a second. So much more depth in the price action is what I want to talk about. Is even if we gap up and we can recapture at least in this 124 area, anywhere again in this demand zone area, if we can do that, it's still good for AMD. That will set some upside on it. If though we can get above 125 and 65 cents and gap up straight above that, that's better, because that just takes out us above this recent resistance level as well, or recent supply zone as well. That's just a great stuff on AMD. And definitely then level by level, is what we want to get above. But that's the gap up. If we can do about 125 and 60 cents almost, that's just amazing, because as I said, we just took out the recent supply zone. If we gap down, let's get to the weekly interval. Then guys, no matter, even if we just come to 107, we pretty much then are looking at $100 as well eventually. That's where the next strong demand zone is. My significant levels are already marked there, but I have put a blue box there just to highlight as well. Now, so that's the scenarios with the earnings as per the price action. Now, what for going in Monday, because earnings are on Tuesday, right? So Monday, well, also intraday, looking at the price action, we are just bearish. I'm going to get rid of some of the boxes from the past. We don't need those now. Just to clean up the chart a little bit, let's get rid of the trend line as well. So intraday, we are bearish, unfortunately. We have lost again that rebounding direction. Overall structure has remained negative on AMD, but intraday, that rebounds that we were getting, we lost it with the loss of a significant level actually right over here. It did try to bounce there, 118, that's why I gave you, it did try to bounce there, but that was it, held for 3 hours, but then gave up. And the reaction in the price action showed us that it can't hold, and we lost the direction as well. So, and unfortunately, if, well, any rebound until 118 is just going to be a rebound. Technically, intraday would not change it to the bullishness. Again, earnings can only change the direction on AMD right now if that's the case. That's on Tuesday. But until Monday, anything until 118 will just be a rebound if that happens. And where can that start to confirm? That will be about 116.43 cents. But don't expect much from the rebound. I do expect weakness and sideways unless something really comes out strong on AMD. But if rebound comes, it's just going to be a rebound, feeble rebound most likely. But overall, there will be still just weakness in AMD. All right. Now, what are the analysts saying? First of all, the Wall Street saying, right? Let's take a look at that, and then I'll take you the options data. So analysts actually, guys, from the last 3 months, 49 of those, they are still on the buying side quite strong. There's only one sell, but 49 out of, well, 48 out of 49 are on a strong, well, many are on strong buys, buy and hold. No one has done underperform. I'm sorry, that's not a sell. That may be an underperform down there. But I read it, I looked up somewhere more in detail. There's, I think, one sell, but let's just take a look at just, I have some more data to show you as well. We'll take a look at that. But what I'm pointing you to is the strong buy is still majority of the analysts, and their analysts price target is also $110 to 250, and average being 169. Current it's at 115. So it's as per the Wall Street, it's right at the lower end of their targets. So this is also taken into account, like all the sell-off and their downgrades through the earnings expectations. So we are right at that bottom. And with that, also looking at the price action, definitely it's possible we may gap up. No one knows what's going to happen through the earnings. But since it's too much already sold off, there is a possibility that gap up may happen, and fulfilling the criteria of Wall Street again. You know, I'm not a big fan of these targets, but in the case of AMD, it seems like a Wall Street darling right now. But I know there are bears in Wall Street as well on this, but many of them are still being bullish on this. All right. So that's what I want to show you. And then the another one is this one, is their overweight, buy, neutral, outperform. I don't see any sell here. So all these big players, and many of them actually in 2025, like for example, this is just on 29th of January, down here where my cursor is, that's positive sentiment, right? And 15th of January also 2025, buy rating was reinitiated, right? So, and overweight on 15th of January again here. So there are still, a lot of positives on AMD. So there's the 21st of Citigroup, 21st of January buy, right? So there's still a lot of positive sentiment by the Wall Street on this, and usually if stock is falling, and you would see the Wall Street has, some players have been coming out really downgrading it, right? Like pushing its target lower, but what they haven't done is change their lower end of the target here, right? So it just tells you, are they just trying to get a cheaper deal by pushing this too low just before the earnings and really crushing this thing down? And then you can see it's consolidating so much here from like 2 months almost. Are they loading up? Well, no one knows. Well, there's still some data you can do, but in reality, you can't ever know exactly what they are doing. We have to rely on the price action. And so let's see if gap up happens and we get above 125 and 60 or 70 cents. We should be very fine on AMD. Anyhow, if we lose 200 weeks moving average, that's pretty much the last line of defense though, all right, this particular area. Now, this is not just the Wall Street that is positive, even the options traders are positive. So let me show you the options traders here. So we have calls, a lot of interest on the calls going in this earnings week of AMD. $130 very strong, 135 very strong, so is 140. 120 and above, 125, 130, 135, 140 strong bulls calls options interest sitting over there. We do have puts, but calls are outweighing the puts. All right, calls are just too much, they are just shadowing the puts, right? So definitely interest is on the call side. At this point, it all comes down to the earnings. Through the earnings, you can do straddle if you want to do it based off of the volatility on it. I told you it's 7% volatility almost through the earnings. Again, nothing is guaranteed. Like Tesla this time didn't do any gap up or gap down. Many stocks, again, it's just Tesla this time an outlier, but all other stocks have done it, and Tesla has done it in the past. But that's what I'm saying. There's no guarantee. It's just more likelihood is that it's based off of the previous data, what we see, there's more likelihood of gap up and gap down, and we'll see what happens. So that's what my take is on AMD, guys. It all comes down to definitely gap up or gap down, but if we lose that 200 weeks moving average, it's going to open up the doors to $100 through the gap down. Right now, we are still bearish and negative, as I showed you on the intraday as well. Only thing that can save it eventually is if we can gap up about 125 and 70 cents, that's just awesome. Even though gapping up above 122 is also good, that will put us again in the strong demand zone. But if we can get up above 125 and 60 cents, that will not only just put us above and into this demand zone, but will also get us out of the recent supply zone. So that's what is important for AMD. And that's all I have for you guys in this video. If you found it helpful, valuable, please hit the like, subscribe. I'll see you in my next videos, guys. Take care. Bye.